Welcome to the program. Kevin Rudd says he wants to be identified as the Education Prime Minister. Certainly his promise of a revolution is one box voters will be waiting to mark on Judgment Day 3 years from now. In particular, the billion-dollar promise to provide computers for every high school student from Year 9 up, to upgrade broadband connections and pay big rebates for laptops at home. Already there's been a debate amongst education experts about what exactly is needed to make a success of this brave new computerised world. The policy mix has been widely reported as a laptop for every child, but many details are still on the drawing board as Julia Gillard settles into one of her new jobs as Education Minister. Mary Gearan spoke with both private and state schools about their wish list for the new year.
This is the toolbox of the 21st century, okay?
The revolution is nigh, and Labor's promised $1 billion budget to upgrade schools' computer and internet capabilities has educators in both the public and private spheres quite excited.
I thought it was fantastic. I mean, it was a real vision for what education might be in the future.
I think it's a wonderful, wonderful initiative, and I think it's going to move our education system forward.
Well, I actually think that this is Rudd's educational Trojan horse. Getting the laptops into the classroom forces the teachers to think about their own skills and their own training, and it forces the educational administrators to think about the curriculum. And in the end, it'll force them both to change, and that, I think, is the real goal.
The policy mix has become known as a laptop for every child, even though Labor's education document just says students will have their own computer and access to the school's extranet and classroom content both from their desktop and remotely. And Labor's tax policy, giving rebates for home computers, is not specifically for laptops. But Kevin Rudd's obvious enthusiasm for the portable version has set the agenda.
You see, some of the wealthier schools in Australia, rightly, are having their kids linked up with the school through internet connection, and the kids taking laptops to and from school. I want to see that made possible long-term for the entire nation.
Mr Rudd's program does seem to have metamorphosed from talking about access for computers for all children to talking about laptops. And I think that's really unfortunate.
Some might have a computer on each child's desk, some might prefer to have laptops, some might prefer to have some learning spaces that have computers in them and some learning spaces that don't. Because it's a grants-based system to schools, schools will be able to deal with design questions.
2 Melbourne private schools have, over the past decade, developed very different policies. Ivanhoe Girls Grammar School offers use of school-based computers that link with computers at home.
But I don't see that it needs an individual laptop per person.
While Trinity Grammar School has made privately owned laptops compulsory since grade 5.
We want the boy to take responsibility for the device. So if they're doing that, they tend to manage themselves better, they manage the machine better, and it's a life skill as well.
They're really good just usage because you can take all your work with you at all times and don't need as many books.
Being able to access the intranet as well from home, or when we've gone away on holidays or whatever, they've been able to access the school's intranet.
You don't actually know always what they're doing and what they've got access to. You find that, you go into their room to see what they're doing and the laptop the screen will be slammed down.
Parents of Trinity boys are recommended to buy laptops through the school at just over $3,100 over 3 years. That price includes insurance, software, as well as maintenance provided daily and on-site. It's been found that laptops, combined with teenage carelessness, means a lot of expensive technical support.
It's crucial. In terms of having a useful program, you've just got to have the rapid turnaround.
In fact, at any given time, up to 10% of the boys' machines are not operational, either broken or left at home. The cost of the boys' unlimited internet access is largely passed on to the parents. That's $100,000 a year above school fees incurred by 1,200 students. But Mark Pesci, author, teacher and digital technology developer, suggests the relative cost of laptops has to be considered in a wider context.
A normal desktop computer will consume about 500 watts of power with a monitor, whereas a laptop computer is going to consume about 50 watts of power. And if you multiply that by the number of students in the schools, you're going to see, particularly for a government that's attempting to be as green as possible, that the power budget itself is going to be a serious factor.
Over at Ivanhoe Girls Grammar, from their first years in primary, students use both desktops and laptops, Macs and PCs, all owned by the school. But it's not one-on-one. There are about 300 computers to 1,000 students.
The most effective learning is where there's a small group of students working with a computer. One student per computer is not necessarily the most effective way for collaborative learners to learn.
You just go to the library, you can use your library card and get a laptop, and you can take it to classes and you just return it at the end of the day. So it's a very easy method.
The triangular shape.
Ivanhoe girls have a 15 megabyte internet quota per week before their download speed decreases. They enter their work on an intranet accessible from home or download material onto their iPods or MP3 players, avoiding possible hazards in transit.
I think that's really important, particularly for young women, the safety aspect, the weight of the laptop, and of course the cost involved, because our cost, the total cost of our technology, is built into our tuition fees.
In fact, the computer's estimated cost is $900 per student per year. However, in the state system, many families will rely on the Rudd government's promised tax rebates if they're to buy home computers.
Will they be able to afford it up front?
No, I don't think so. They're pretty expensive, like computers, to keep the software up and keep building on them and all that sort of stuff.
Probably only about, or less than half of our parents would be able to have a computer at home or have the money, if you like, to pay for broadband access.
It is a rebate system. We will be looking at the equity issues for parents that do have real difficulties in making the upfront payment, but that is a tax rebate system.
At present, Kialba Secondary College in Melbourne's West has about 80 computers to 250 students, but only has access to a technician for 2 days a week.
There's a whole lot of practical things like the facilities, the room that we have, power, where you plug these things in, how you store them, keep them safe, what technical support we'll need, new software.
Beyond the bricks and mortar needed, educators are unanimous that further teacher development is one of the most urgent priorities for the revolution. Labor's policy mentions working with the states and territories to achieve this, but with no further details or budget allocation.
Well, this is the second 24 hours that I've been sworn in as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Education. We are working through all of these issues. We understand that for this system to work, people have to have the computers, but they also have to have teachers and the curriculum that support the use of computers.
Although there is a minority of teachers who have kept up with the digital revolution, almost all teachers in the system are going to be less digitally aware than their students are. And so immediately there's this sort of profound power shift where the computers are really much more versatile and useful to the students than they are to the teachers.
The teacher's not the only source of information, and teachers, I think, do need some help with that, because it's not rocket science, but it is a change in image for the teachers.
We want to be out in the field making sure that computers are being delivered into schools in the first half of next year.
They have to be very honest about the fact that this is a revolution that doesn't happen overnight. Yes, you can order the computers, you can get them into the schools in a year's time maybe, but that change in the curriculum is going to take time and it's going to take money, and it's not necessarily going to be perfect at the outset.